So let's go. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Zibby.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good.
I've got to say I love Instagram. I think I'm much more of a natural Instagrammer than I am a tweeter. But I just love pretty pictures, and the Bookstagram community is so great. So yeah, it's really fun to be live with you today.
Oh, you too. You have so much that takes place in the hospital sort of vigil type scene, which I feel is particularly timely right now with the hospital sort of at the forefront of everything. Did you do research on that? Like, I couldn't find any sort of hospital background in your in my limited, snooping into your bio. So,
yeah,
how'd you get all that?
Yeah, I'm fortunate in that I, touch wood, have never spent much time in a hospital. And I've got to say that when it comes to research, I kind of tend to plot out where the plot's going and then go back to there to see how it will work. And one thing that was actually really tricky with the silent treatment is that obviously, as we're seeing now, hospital care is different in every country of the world. So here in the UK, we have the NHS, which is akin to religion for us, but obviously things operate totally differently to how they would in the States. To how they would in Germany, where the novel has actually just come out a few weeks ago. So I was trying to find a hospital atmosphere that was at once very authentic and that readers wouldn't feel was unrealistic, but that at the same token had some sort of universality.
In the beginning, so Frank says, Maggie always said patience was my virtue, as if good qualities were something to be divvied out in a marriage along with weekly chores. Which is so true. Yes. Right? It's like, oh, yes. I'm the this one, you're the this one. And this was one of my favorite lines in the book. So he's talking about Maggie and how she's this anxious sort of ball of energy and, worrying about everything and all the time, which I can totally relate to myself. But he writes, or you write in his voice, I never wanted to change her. I just wanted to make sure that all her nervous energy didn't get her tied up in knots so tight that even I couldn't unpick them. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's something I relate to as well. So it's funny you said that. Yeah, lots of people have asked because I've written about a couple that's a lot older. So I wrote this novel when I was 25 and I was writing about a couple about 40 years older than myself. People saying, where did you get your inspiration from? Or just assuming it was my parents, which it isn't, I should say, for the record, although I'm sure they'd love that. But you draw on little bits of your own personality for some characters, and then maybe there's a quirk that comes from a friend of yours or a habit, or you're thinking, how does this character speak? And suddenly it will come into your mind, I don't know, the voice of your local shopkeeper or the man you met in the garage, the way he kind of always hesitates before he says certain things. So yes, I've definitely been picking up anecdotes to kind of try and make my characters as real as they can be, really.
And just briefly, you went to college, you worked for 3 years, and then you had this book. I mean, this is like an amazingly speedy trajectory. One I am jealous of myself, and I'm sure many other authors out there. But tell me, how did this happen? Like, have you always loved to write? Is this, tell me how this happened.
Yeah, it's, I would say I've always been a reader. I mean, all the earliest photos of me about this height, I've got a big book and very little face. So I think, and then I went to uni and I studied English, and then I worked in publishing. So in one way or another, everything was kind of leading me there, but I knew that it's so hard to write your first book, let alone to get it published. So I knew that I had to have like that idea, like an idea that would capture the imagination of an agent, who could then hopefully capture the imagination of an editor, who could get the whole team on board to get the book published. So I didn't want to rush into writing my first novel. I knew I had to wait for the idea.
I'm so excited that everybody out there is going to now know about the silent treatment. Can you all see the silent treatment? Abbi Greaves. So go out and buy this. And Abbi, thank you so much for chatting. I have a million more questions, but you'll have to come on my podcast so I can finish
I will do.
the rest of
it. It was so brilliant.